Yo, what up, guys? Nathan back once again with another episode of the Unplugged Freedom Podcast. And in today's episode, it's actually inspired by a question or a couple of questions that I had gotten from an email from someone who's on my subscriber list, my mailing list. And for those of you who are not on my mailing list, you can always go to unpluggedfreedom.com and you can sign up to my mailing list there. And then you can also get my free ebook, which you can learn a little bit more and get some good resources out of that as well. Other podcasts you can listen to, books, audiobooks, courses, other cool, interesting people to follow. That's all within my free ebook at unpluggedfreedom.com. So let's get to it. This is a very interesting question topic, and really, I got an email, asking me if I was open-minded or if I was willing to change my thinking or my stance on things, because I seem to be very one-sided, and that it's better to be kind of open to different possibilities, different outcomes, different sides. And so there's actually a couple of parts to this, but we'll just cover this first part here. So am I open-minded? And I am probably one of the most open-minded people that there are. I'm sure that there's far more open-minded people, but I just saying that I am actually very open-minded, and being very open-minded has allowed me to be able to do the things that I've done in life, accomplish the things that I've accomplished in life. It has allowed me to get the jobs that I have gotten, meet the people that I've met, left relationships, left jobs as well, moved to different cities, different countries, all kinds of things. And that is all due to being so open-minded, of wondering what if. And so I do think it's a very interesting question, but I also understand it as well, because yes, I am very much on one side, and if I do seem aggressively on one side, most of the time you can bet that I have done my research into it. And in order for somebody, or in order for me to change my viewpoint or change my stance on that, you basically have to present new and better information to me. So a lot of times, if I have a very aggressive stance on something, it's because I have done this research. It's because I have looked into it so in-depthly that you really, like, I will stand 110% behind what it is that I am talking about. If, let's say, let's bring up a topic about barbecues, let's say, for example, barbecues. I don't know anything about barbecues. I don't own one. I don't have one. I've heard a couple of names that are out there. If somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Nathan, what do you think is the best barbecue that is out there?" my stance isn't on one side or the other. I would just say, I don't really know. One, because I don't own a barbecue. I don't really have a use for a barbecue. And I don't really have an interest in buying a barbecue. I have, however, heard of a brand name Weber. I believe. I've heard that they're pretty good. But then I've also heard of another one, but I can't quite remember the name. So I don't have a stance on that because I haven't done my research into it. Another simple topic could be something like Android phones versus Apple phones. Back in the day, I used to be very Apple. Okay, I bought my very first iPod Shuffle way back in like 2005 when it first came out. I got my iPhone back in like 2007, 2008. I think it was 2008. I think that's when it came to Canada. I worked for the Apple Store back in 2011, I had the passion. I have a MacBook Pro. I had an iMac. It was my very first computer was an iMac with the new Intel processor. I had it all, right? I loved it. Loved Apple. And then being open-minded allowed me to be able to come to a point where I was like, you know what? As much as I do love Apple computers, I'm not in love with their phones as much as I used to be just because of my uses. So being open-minded, I tried an Android for the first time back in 2019, fell in love with it, fell in love with the use that was for me. And then all of a sudden, I bought a brand new Google Pixel 5 just a couple months ago. Now, am I on one side or the other? If someone came to me, hey, which phone should I buy? I don't know which phone you should buy. I'm not on one side or the other. Why? Because both phones are great. It all depends on your use, 100%. But as for me, I prefer Android. If you're within the Apple ecosystem already, it might be easier for you to adopt that. And so yes, it's allowing you to be open-minded and being able to try new things. Being open-minded allows you to hear both sides of a conversation. Whereas let's take it political. You have the left, so the Democratic side, and then you have the right, which is the Republican side. The Republican side is far more open-minded to hear what both parties have to say. They will hear what the left has to say. 90% of what the left has to say is bullshit. Like, it's just, that's not me saying that out of opinion. That is just a fact. Like, listen to what they have to say. But the left is not open to what the right has to say. It doesn't matter what they have to say. And a great example of this is the recent Donald Trump impeachment. The Republican side had an amazing case they brought to the Senate. Unfortunately, it's political and it's not actual law. Whereas the left can get away with manufacturing evidence to try and prove their point. And it's just, whereas in a court of law, you try and manufacture evidence to try and build a case and send someone to jail or keep someone out of jail, keep a criminal out of jail, you're going to get in a lot of trouble for that. But in politics, you're allowed to manufacture it. It's just a slap on the wrist. And the left will just kind of like brush it off and say, well, they didn't really manufacture evidence. They just kind of, changed the date and they just added this. And so it's crazy. So being open-minded is you will only get further in life. You'll be able to hear both sides of the story. So, yeah, in political wise, the left is not open-minded. The right is very much open-minded. And they bring to light the left's hypocrisy time and time again. And this is just seen time and time again. So, a lot of things for me, being open-minded, I've been able to travel 7 different countries, leave different relationships. I've left jobs. There's a lot of people that are very closed-minded, kind of like, oh, there's nothing else I can do. There's no other jobs. What other job can I find that's going to pay me this well? I got a pension. I got this. It's just like being open-minded allows you to say, hey, you know what? Even though this job pays me very well, I'm fine with leaving it because at the end of the day, I'm not happy. And what if I actually do leave and find something that is better? To date, I could have been, 2020... I could have been 14 years in the military today. And so 14 years in the military, I could have been making some really good money. Well, not saying that I don't make good money now. Well, I probably make better money now than I do back then. But I would have been 14 years in the military, good solid pension, yada, 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 all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I wasn't happy. And so being open-minded allowed me to realize that and say, you know what? I don't care how good of a career this is. I don't care how many years I have and how crazy people will think that I am for leaving, I'm not happy, and that's what's more important than status, money, and pension. That I'm not even guaranteed. I'm not guaranteed. Nobody's guaranteed. That's the thing, is nobody's guaranteed your pension. You're not guaranteed to retire. You're not even guaranteed to get there. And even if you do get there, how are you going to be feeling when you eventually do get there? So yeah, being open-minded allows you to do things like this, to think. I know a lot of people who won't move out of a certain city. It could be their home city because they think, I don't know anybody. Or they say, well, I don't have a job there, so I can't do that. My job won't transfer me, so as much as I want to move there, I can't move there. I say, yeah, but if you really want to do that, then leave the job and go there. Go do that. But they're just not open-minded enough to be able to go after it and say, you know what, maybe I can do that. Like, for example, like when I went to Australia, I had a one-way ticket. I sold everything. Went there, was dating a girl, and then I realized, you know what, I don't want a relationship at this time. And so we broke up. A short few months after arriving in Australia. This is a big long story, long story short, had a lot of money, owned nothing, had a lot of freedom and the ability to go anywhere. I could do anything, go anywhere, go, do whatever. And just kind of like, having left the country for the first time from Canada. And it turned into 3 years of traveling and 7 different countries. Like, how amazing is that? Being open-minded allowed me to be able to accept a job in Bali, Indonesia. Like, I worked and lived in Bali, Indonesia for 2 years. It was amazing. And so it's incredible. And I'm very thankful for just how open-minded I am about things. So yes, on one end, it's a very interesting question that people have for me, and I've gotten it before, because when I had my Instagram account before, people would always come in and say similar things, like, like you can't change your opinion on this, and you're so into this, you're just so whatever. And it's just like, well, no, I'm not. It's just that you haven't presented me with any more information, or even better information than I have already got. And so I'm more than willing to change my stance on things, 100%. You just have to present me with more information. And at the end of the day, I can be very aggressive in my stance on things. Like, for example, the COVID, bullshit that is going on. This one I think is incredible, because it's just a matter of opening your eyes, putting the numbers together. Like, you don't even have to be that good of math. It's not like we're asking you to do long division. We're just asking you to do simple basic math, and you will arrive at the simple conclusion of 99.9% survival rate. And then you look at something where, like, cancer, that killed 8 times more people than COVID-19. But nobody gives a shit about cancer, right? Like, they're still smoking, they're still drinking, they're still eating their garbage food. They're still doing the shit that gets them the cancer. But they don't give a fuck about cancer. They're all worried about the COVID-19, so they're walking around with 2 fucking masks on, right? You got a fucking 400-pound heifer who isn't worried about diabetes or a stroke or heart failure, heart disease, or anything, but they're getting mad at you because you're walking around without a mask on. And you're like, look, buddy, you got far greater things to be worried about than COVID-19. Trust me, okay? The fact that you can't even walk and you need a chair to get you around, okay? Don't even try and get me started on it's a disease, okay? Because I've been to, like I said, 7 different countries. I've been to Asia. When you saw an obese person in Asia, it was incredible. Actually, to bring it up, Malaysia is a far more, let's say, forward, say, country than Nepal. Some places in China, and then some places in Asia, Indonesia as well. So Malaysia. I remember when I went to Singapore, there's a lot of like fit, good-looking people in Singapore. Healthy-looking people, you know. They got so many rules in Singapore. I love Singapore. It's a beautiful city. Really liked it. Always highly recommend people to visit it. I really enjoyed going there. But then some people would say, hey, go to Singapore. It's actually right next door to... go to Malaysia. It's actually right next door to Singapore. So I would go to Malaysia, and I hated Malaysia. I just thought it was terrible. Not about Malaysian people. It's just I didn't like Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. I just wasn't a fan of it. And so, but one thing I did notice was that there were far more obese people in Malaysia than there was Singapore, Indonesia, a lot of the places that I had been. It was incredible. So anyways, we kind of veered off there. That was just basically, you know, people talking about how obesity is a disease and all this, you know, shit. It's just... So anyways, going back to COVID, yes, I will stand 110% behind simple math. Like, you just have to open your eyes and, you know, right there. Let's talk about vaccines. So in the email that I got from the person on my email list, they also asked me if I was a scientist. If I knew how to, don't quote me on this, I'd have to look at the email again, but if I know how to isolate a genome or something like that. And I said, no, I am very much no scientist. I am very much no professional in that aspect whatsoever. And I never claimed to be. I never claimed to be in that stance. However, and this is actually very interesting, because a lot of times people, when they hear me talk about the things that I do talk about, they think that I am saying it. They think that it is my information from my research, from my science lab, from my, like, and then they start, like, jumping down my throat about it. And I'm like, whoa, like, hold up. I didn't say that vaccines are unsafe. Okay? I'm just saying, okay, maybe if you would hear it, that a scientist straight from the CDC had to come out and blow the whistle on how vaccines are unsafe, how the CDC has committed fraud and has been trying to cover it up. So that's not my words at all. That is directly from the horse's mouth. So I never claimed to be a scientist. I never claimed to be, you know, the professional. However, I will find the information and I will stand behind 110% on the information. And if I'm very aggressive about it and seem like I'm on one side, you can bet your ass that I have done my research into it. And I will stand 110% behind it, and I will defend it until I am brought some new information. Let's take, and this can range in all kinds of things. Let's take 9/11, for example. 9/11. There's a lot of people who think you're a crazy person if you start questioning 9/11. How dare you? Thousands of people died on that day. How dare you question 9/11? Well, that's once again, it's just opening your eyes. You have a plane that's 200 feet wide, making a 65-foot hole in the Pentagon. Basic math would tell you that doesn't work. 200-foot wide plane makes a 65-foot hole. Where's the rest of the hole? Where's the rest of the plane? Where's the video footage, right? Anyways, we're like, you could go on all day about something like 9/11, but bringing in the experts, I'm no architect, I'm no engineer, I'm no structural engineer. I never claimed to be. I never claimed to be any of that. However, when over 3,000 engineers and architects come together and they start saying, we think that there's more to the story about how the collapse of Building 7 happened, that's when I start to perk up, because the professionals have spoken up. Doesn't matter if it's a scientist straight from the CDC coming out with the information showing that they are committing fraud. That's when I listen up. Or it's over 3,000 architects and engineers. Like I said, I never claim to be the expert, the professional in any of this. I am so open-minded that I actually I listen. Why are these people not on the news? Why is this not being covered by mainstream media? Why is it that this small, tiny little local news station is reporting that the CEO of Disney was caught for child pornography, but CNN, MSNBC, CBC, they're not covering it? Why are the main channels not covering that? Right? So there's just a lot of these questions and things that you have to ask. But that's the crazy thing, is that in today's day and age, you can't even ask a question like that. You can't even say, hey, look, I found this. I think this is interesting. Can we look into this? You can't even do that. You can't do that because you will be shut down. The Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. They are all just destroying one side. So people can't even be open-minded. They don't want people to be open-minded. Because when you're open-minded, you discuss, you challenge each other, you bring up points. You say, hey, wait a minute. It just seems a little odd that the plane was 250 feet wide, but it only left a 65-foot hole with no other, resemblance of any plane, going into the Pentagon. It just seems weird. Can we get some answers for that? And so just the very same thing as somebody coming to me and challenging what I may have to say is the very same thing as me challenging what the system has to say. But the difference is that I will get shut down and I will get censored for doing such a thing. That's the thing. My Instagram accounts all the time. I actually quite enjoyed this part. When I had my Instagram accounts, I always had people giving me information because I had I would post a lot of different things, and so I would have a lot of people come in and try to challenge me on that. And they say, you're wrong about this, and this is why. And they'd send me an article, they'd send me a video, they'd send me whatever. And I actually quite enjoyed this, and it was actually one of my favorite things. I had this all the time. And I was like, okay, cool, because it was like they were out there giving me information, doing research for me and presenting it to me. Sometimes it was new information. Unfortunately, most of the time it was garbage. I would just chew these people up and spit them out. They did not stand a chance. And I did this all the time. They would send me videos, they'd send me articles, they would send me, you name it. And I was just the websites, whatever it was. And I welcomed it. I would read through it, I'd watch through it, I'd listen through it, and I'm like, okay, this is bullshit, and I'll tell you why. And you could just fucking tear it apart like no tomorrow. And I did it all the time. It was kind of it was enjoyable for me. I quite enjoyed it. And so it was an interesting thing because it did open some more doors to new information, but 99% of the time it wasn't any good information. So being open-minded and where I get my information from, the information is just being relayed from me. So, and this can be in anything. It doesn't matter if it's vaccines. Like for example, abortion. I believe that I have a pretty good opinion about abortion. Why? Because I have actually worked in an abortion clinic. I have seen body parts of 21-week-old fetus. I know what that looks like. I know that in between 0 and 4 weeks, you're looking at white fluff in a just like, that's just white fluff, it looks like, basically. And then from like, say, 6 weeks, you start to see like an actual, little tiny thing. And then, and so I either have my information coming from straight from the sources being relayed, or I have information that is directly from my own experiences. Whereas when somebody starts talking about abortion, and I've had this many times on the topic of abortion as well, is that a lot of times people, they don't know when they're touting about, killing babies and shit. I'm just like, yo, have you ever seen this? Like, do you know what that's like? Like, have you ever seen, the little fingers and the little toes and, like, in 21 weeks? Have you ever seen that? Like personally? I think if you did, okay, you could have a different opinion. And so like, that's really just like where I stand in all of this. And I like I said, yeah, if I do seem like I'm a very aggressive on one side, I most definitely am. 2, it's probably because I am standing 110% firmly on the information that I have, and until I get new information, I will always back that up 110%. Another good example is like a flat earth, for example. Okay, you walk into any room, you bring up the topic of flat earth, people think you're a fucking crazy lunatic. I'm not on one side or the other. I'm not a flat earther. Do I believe the earth is a globe? I don't know it's a globe. I've never seen it for myself. All I've seen are computer generated videos and photos that NASA themselves have come out and said that they are photoshopped and that they need to be photoshopped. And that's, once again, that's not me. That's directly from the NASA websites, and you can see that they are photoshopped just by the cropping tools and everything. Like, once again, that's not me and my opinion. That is just straight from the source. And so there's just a lot of questions within a topic like NASA. You've got the International Space Station. There's so many things around that. It's just it's interesting. There's a lot of questions around, say, a flat Earth, for example. See, I'm so open-minded that I will have a discussion, and I've always said, mind you, there are a lot of fucking idiots in that topic. But you have to sift through a lot of that shit. There are some things that are very interesting. One thing that I think is interesting, and the reason that I think it's interesting is because it comes down to math. So, in a globe, for example, is that the further you go, the further something will go down, because it's going down the curvature of the Earth. So we have a size. You can just go directly to the NASA website. You can go, you can get the size, you can get the circumference, you can get the kilometers and miles and all that stuff. And that's what I think is interesting. You get all that, and then you can do the calculations. This is, once again, it's a little bit more complicated than doing math like, for the COVID-19. However, it's still math. And, 1 + 1 = 2. So if the Earth is so big, like, you'd have to look at it yourself. If the Earth is so big and the circumference is X, the distance is whatever, if you are a certain amount of miles away, for something that is, let's say, 100 feet tall, like a 100-foot tall building, as you get further away from that building should go down, down, and down. And so this is a mathematical equation. So let's say, for example, it was 200 miles. for a 100-foot building. If you were 200 miles away from a 100-foot building, you wouldn't be able to see that building anymore because of the curvature of the earth. Like I said, I'm not a flat earther, but this one here is just, I'm looking at my steering wheel right now, and it's just like, it's just basic math, right? So you have to get all the numbers correct, and people have done all the calculations and everything, and then they say, look, these are the calculations straight from NASA, straight from here, the sources, and by them, we shouldn't be able to see something that is X amount of miles away. But then there's photos and videos of such things. Now, I never took the photos, I never took the videos or anything like that, so I just think, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting theory. So being open-minded, I can see that and say, that's an interesting theory. I see where you're going with that, and I like how you presented it with the math, because now we have substantial, something that we can actually grasp onto. Now, does that make me a flat earther? No. That just means, okay, yes, I know where you're going with this theory. However, there's obviously so much more we would have to go into to prove this or disprove this. And but you know what? I'm not one way or the other. I will keep the door open for you to come back when you have new and better information. And so, and this is just one example, okay? There's a whole lot of other examples as well. So, like I've talked about many times, a lot of times people will try to just extinguish that one little thing. So if I try to make a point like this, they'll just try to extinguish that. Whereas like I could make, say, 20 more, which 20 points all together is much stronger than 1 point. So, but they'll try to just extinguish each one individually so that they don't have to look at all 20. Because if they were to look at all 20 at the same time, then that would challenge their own beliefs, and they don't like that. So then that's when they start to attack you and, you know, call you names, aka that's pretty much what the left does. So anyways, that's just an example. You know, the door is open. Okay, there's a lot of questions. I don't know if you saw the so-called video of Mars, and I've seen better renditions of planets on a video game than this. Like, at first when I saw it, I was like, this is a joke. Like, this is not real. But then I followed up the sources, and it came directly from the fucking, like, NASA. I was like, I'm like, this really? Like, I swear that they're just like behind, they're all laughing as they hit the upload button. There's Buddy in the background saying, dude, you can't upload that video. They're gonna know it's fake. It looks ridiculous. Like, he's like, no, trust me. They will believe it. Watch. He's like, man, you're gonna bust us. And they're all laughing, and then he hits the upload button, and then bam, people fucking believe it. And you're like, holy shit. But like I said, there's so many things. There's so many things that are out there. I'm always open to new information. I'm always looking for new information, hoping for new information. I just mean, like, in today's world, you know, this shit's just going sideways. Like, we have a health secretary for the White House who is a transgender. Oh my God, like, this is just ridiculous. Like, being open-minded doesn't mean be stupid, okay? And like, transgender is definitely one of those. You can call me transphobic, you can call me fucking whatever the hell you want, but I will have a stance on protecting children. Okay, I don't even have children my own, but it's crazy how I will protect children far more than most of these fucking adults will. And I think that comes from like my own childhood as to how I was raised, and it just has given me like this connection with children, and knowing how valuable that they are and how special they are. They're just little balls of fire, and so many times, we as adults, we just snuff these little balls of fires out so that they just become these little fucking zombies, and it's so sad, and it's so terrible. Now we can fucking mutilate their fucking genitalia. They can do it themselves, without any parental guidance. Like, in the animal kingdom, let's say bears, for example, you have these little cubs. Bear cubs are some of the most curious, like fun-loving things. They're running around and everything. They can't just do that. They need their parent there, because they'll go run off and like attack something or do something or try and cross a road, but the mother needs to be there in order to protect the cubs, because they don't know yet. She has to teach them the way, because they don't know. It's just, this is just all across the animal kingdom, but we're just fucking it all up and just saying, oh, kids, you can do whatever the fuck you want, and we'll just mutilate your fucking genitalia and pump you full of drugs so that you're just permanently damaged for the rest of your life. Okay? And that's acceptable. And for me to stand here and say, no, that is fucking child abuse 101, that's apparently hate speech. It's just incredible. Now we have somebody in the fucking clown show of a White House who is transgender, and I think it's incredible how they're all like, oh, if she's appointed and into the position, she will make history as the only open transgender. It's like, you're just all about making history, quote unquote. And it's just like, well, let's just put a fucking donkey in there. Okay, that's making history. The only donkey to ever be the health secretary of the White House. Like, fucking, this is a historic moment. Like, there's no fucking difference between those two. Like, like, you want to make history, like, why go half-ass? Let's just go the whole fucking way and just put a fucking donkey in there. Okay? It's crazy what is happening in this world, what is happening to kids. Kids are the future, and we're just fucking them up. Parents are not even parents anymore. And you have people like me who don't even have kids who are, standing up more for kids than their own fucking parents are. It's just, that's how crazy this world is. Will I ever have kids? I have no idea. Like, would I, like, that's how fucked up this world is today. Imagine in 5 years. Imagine in 10 years. Imagine in 15 years. We're just going to have a whole fucking, everybody walking around like mental illness is the new normal. That's what it's becoming. You cannot, it's so crazy. And so, keep an open mind, though. Keep an open mind. Yeah, but anyways, guys, keep an open mind to things. Allow information to come in, and take a look at the information, in depthly. Is it good information? Where did the information come from? Is it biased information? That's one thing that I would always get all the time, is people would be like, well, don't you think you're a little biased? I'm like, well, fucking biased in what way? Maybe I might be biased because I fucking have done the research on one side, or the information that your side has given is just garbage, and I just chew it up and spit it out, like it's nothing. So I don't know if you are using the word biased in the proper sense. It's just that when I look at the information, this side is speaking bullshit. This side is speaking much more truth. So biased in thinking that, like, transgender's not, I have nothing biased against that. I don't have kids. Like, don't you think that's a pretty neutral position where I'm sitting right now? I don't have kids. So, but I can look at parents not having the ability for their child to go off and fucking cut their dick off and, you know, cut their shit off and pump themselves full of drugs without the parents knowing. Like, do I think that that is horrible and that is child abuse 101? Absolutely. Even if, you know, even if they're 17, 18, 19, I don't care like what it is. When you're 20 years old, you know fucking jack shit. When I was 20 years old, I knew fucking jack shit. I'm sure when I'm 40 years old, I'll look back at today and thinking that, you know, wow, I didn't know anything. Because there's always new information out there. But that's the thing, is that we, that's one thing I think is very interesting, is that I do have a very soft spot for kids, just because kids need to be protected. And you can destroy a trans fucking argument in 1 minute because you just switch the roles. It's like, so little Tammy, okay, comes home from school and says she wants to be little Tommy. And if you say no to that, then that's called hate speech, and you're not allowed to do that. And then, if you know, the White House gets their way, well, guess what? Little Tammy can just go to the doctor and get her shit all fucked up permanently. Okay, don't forget that word, permanently damage herself. What, at 10 years old, 14 years old, whatever it is, whatever, you know, whatever she chooses. And then, you know, without a parent's consent. But then at the same time, if little Tammy comes home from school and says, "Hey, look, I'm in love with my 45-year-old teacher, and he's in love with me. He kisses me every single day after school when everybody else is away." What would you as a parent think, feel, and do? I would hope that you would intervene. I would hope that you would protect the child. So why the fuck do we protect the child in one instance, but we don't protect the child in the other? Why do we feel we need to protect the child in the one instance? Well, because the argument is, well, because they're a child, they don't know. And they could be being manipulated by the older person. Okay, so let's take that same argument and put it over here. Little Tammy can go fuck her shit up permanently without a parent's consent. And you're not allowed to step in and guide that child as a parent, as an adult? Because what? Because they don't know. And now we are going to have a fucking person in the White House who is mentally ill. And oh my God, I would hate to be a child. I would hate to be a child just coming into this world. I would hate to be a, you know, child who's 10 years old. I would hate to be a child who is going through high school right now. This world is fucked, and it's crazy, and it's not getting any better, that's for sure. The direction that it is going is incredibly scary, and I would hope that something does change for the better, but we'll see. All I can say is that, you know what, I'm gonna keep my stance, my aggressive stance on the information that I have, because I believe that the information that I have is pretty solid, and I'm open to changing that stance as long as I'm presented with better and new information. So that is it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and it is a beautiful day, so I'm going to take off, and I will talk to you later. All right, thanks for listening. We'll chat later.